What is up, everybody, and welcome to FLW Videos. In today's episode, I thought I would create a guide centered around newer players in Pokemon Go and talk about the top 5 mistakes to avoid. As many of you may have seen in your community, there are just a massive influx of new players coming into the game, and then secondarily, a lot of people coming back from a very long time, and you may watch them make a lot of mistakes and you try to help them, but there's just so much to cover. I figured that I would make this video as a point of reference, so if you would consider yourself a higher end player, more of an expert, feel free to share this video with newer players in your community. You have my full on permission. I want to help as many people as possible, and as always, if this video is helpful, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the mistakes. So for number 1, I wanted to center around one of the more important things in Pokemon Go, and that is Stardust. A lot of new players tend to find themselves just spending a lot of Stardust, and they will be powering up anything and everything, even if it isn't anything good. They just don't know any better. Maybe they've got the best intentions. Two big examples would be from a raid perspective. They're just trying to power it up so they can stay in longer, and really it all stems to them not getting enough revives from the raid system to begin with. They have even resorted to just powering it up a Pokemon, that way they don't have to use a revive, simultaneously not realizing that it costs a lot of Stardust depending on the level of the Pokemon. So what I want to recommend to you is to try to wait until level 30 before you start powering up Pokemon, and here's the reasons why. First things first, you will now have access to weather boosted Pokemon that go above level 30. They can even go up to level 35. Simultaneously, these weather boosted Pokemon have increased individual values at a 5/5/5 level on attack, defense, and stamina, meaning that those Pokemon are going to have a better chance of being something that you would want to keep. Simultaneously, it's such a high level, you don't even have to invest any Stardust in it. Just think about all those potential Pokemon you would have powered up that you didn't, and now you have better Pokemon just because you waited it out and of course got it from a weather boost. So the second and third tip are going to center around really cool things that have just happened in Pokemon Go. The first one being the quick catch method. I have to say, for me personally, I've ran into a lot of players who do not utilize the quick catch method, and it takes them a lot longer to catch Pokemon. Even if you go out on a community day with some friends, you'll notice that they're not able to catch as much, and then simultaneously it also stacks onto the Stardust problem. So if you have never heard of the quick catch method, the fast catch method, the skipping animation method, whatever you want to call it, here is what you have to do. It really is not that complicated once you kind of think about it. First things first, you can either grab onto the ball icon or the berry icon and slide it over to the opposite side of the screen. You will keep your hand on the screen and you will throw with the other finger, other hand. Some people can do it one-handed, but you will hold it down with the left side and then throw the ball at the Pokemon. And once you do that and can confirm that you hit it, you will simply let go of the screen and double tap the run button. For Android users out there, instead of double tapping the run button, you also have the option of double pressing the back button as well. So I do want to go ahead and exclaim that. The reason being is because you can now catch Pokemon nearly twice as fast as what you would do when you have to watch the entire catch animation. Hence, you can catch twice the amount of Pokemon and gain twice the amount of Stardust. I see a lot of players not doing this, and it is a huge mistake to not take advantage of it. So this brings into step number 3. Another type of strategy like that is going to be the circle lock method that you can do on raid bosses. How many of you have seen someone go out to catch themselves a raid boss and they just end up throwing the ball over and over and over again? They don't take their time, they don't know about this circle lock technique, and they end up just missing a ton of legendary raid boss. And for me personally, as well as you, you're going to be spending money on this once you get past the free raid passes. You are going to want to use the best strategy possible, and that is the circle lock technique. So here's how you do it. Since we do have a couple of balls and the catch rate remained at 6%, just like Mewtwo did with the EX raid, it should have a pretty high catch rate. So now all we have to do is just wait for the taunt. But if you are a little bit curious about the method, the first thing you have to do is hold on to the ball and then size it down to the excellent circle. So once you've done that, you just have to wait for the taunt. Deoxys is gonna back up and then basically just like charge at you
and during the end of the charge is going to be when you're going to throw it.
This will prevent the raid boss from doing any type of taunt, any type of jump. It will guarantee you to be able to make contact with the raid boss. And at the end of the day, if you can hit the raid boss more often, and for example, you're using something like a golden raz, you are going to ultimately increase the chances of you catching that legendary raid boss, which I personally think is a big mistake for newer players. They say, there's no way that I could do this, it's too complicated, or they just don't know about it. So I would highly recommend you to not make that mistake and use the circle lock method. Step number 4 centers around raiding. And I have to say, everyone watching this video, whether you are a new player or you are an expert in your community, you are going to say thank you so much for mentioning this. And that is during raiding, not using what is recommended to you. Now, I know that sounds contradictory, right? Why would you choose to not use the recommended? That makes the most sense. After all, Pokemon Go is recommending it to you. I see newer players making this mistake all the time. Here's the issue. What it does is it prioritizes defense. And because of that, it doesn't always work out for 2 different ways. One, super effective damage, and it seems to not care about your Pokemon's moveset either. And since it prioritizes defense, it simultaneously sacrifices attack. So I'm going to give you 2 different scenarios. One, if you are low on revives and you're looking for a better way to go about this, what I would personally recommend you to do is to try to trade someone to get a Snorlax for yourself, or maybe something like a Blissey. Those 2 are definitely going to be some of the better ones, and use them as punching bags. If you use it that way, you're going to save up on a ton of revives. They can last a very long time, and if you're in a large group, it simply won't matter. The secondary technique to it is to just use super effective Pokemon and just slowly build up over time, catch more Pokemon, and use that as an aspect. Get yourself on offense because you will be able to defeat the Pokemon so much quicker, and you will also make your community happy. The last and final tip that I wanted to give, of course there are plenty more, is going to center around not being patient when evolving Pokemon. This is a huge deal because let's say, for example, you get yourself that Venusaur and you are so proud of it. It could be low level, you know, whatever, but you're so proud of it. But then a community day comes around, and all of a sudden it gets an exclusive community day move that ends up being better than the moveset that you currently have. I can say that when community days first began, I personally fell for this, and I'm sure others did as well. But now that we have it under a rhythm, what I'm going to tell you is if you have some type of starter Pokemon, for example, that's going to be the clearest ones to just go ahead and not evolve. You're going to want to wait for the exclusive move so it can be the best that it could possibly be, as well as some of the pseudo legendaries. Yes, it is a little bit difficult to predict what the community day Pokemon are going to be, but I think generally speaking, we've got a good sense of it. It seems to mostly be pseudo legendaries. Occasionally it is something else, but I'm saying go ahead and have some candy ready for it. If you have a really good IV one or a really high level one, and hopefully both, I would say to just hold on to it. Don't shoot yourself in the foot, eliminating your chances of that exclusive move that will make the Pokemon better. Anyways, I hope you did enjoy this video. Hopefully it was helpful. There's a lot to cover, to be honest. We didn't even scratch the surface with like lucky Pokemon. I would recommend you to take advantage of that. And of course, subscribe to this channel. Check out some of the community day guides as well as the event guides. I'm going to give you many strategies, but to be honest, the core concepts remain the same, and we definitely covered a lot in today's video. If you have some additional tips, feel free to leave it in the comments section below.
So the more I thought about the last point after editing the video, I don't know if it's fair for me to say, hey, save up for potential community day Pokemon, when we really can't predict it and you don't really have a baseline to go off of. I personally think Garchomp is a super good candidate. Secondarily, something like Flygon could be good. The most popular ones that people have kind of suggested. I personally think a Pokemon like Lucario actually has a lot of potential for a community day option. So maybe with those Pokemon, just kind of keep an eye out for them, maybe not evolve them even though they are rare. I do think that they have a good chance of becoming a community day Pokemon. I'm gonna go ahead and add on an additional question to this. What do you think could be a non-starter community day Pokemon? Put your predictions in the comment section below, and who knows, you may end up being right.
If you want to develop a deeper connection, I would highly recommend you to check out Patreon. We've got a lot of really cool things going on over there. Check out all of these supporters that we have. We are almost up to 100. We are also posting some special content, some behind the scenes work. And if that is the type of thing that interests you, I would highly recommend you to check it out.